Hey guys, welcome back. Eric Smith here, Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm also a co host of Scouting the Finns. And today we are going to wrap up the 2025 Free Agent Offensive Guard Series. And if you've been along for the ride, you know that we did 15 videos on free agent offensive guards, as well as a video on the Dolphins guards from last year. Um, on the right side of the slide here, you see things that we didn't factor in with these rankings, which were, projected contract. You got player background, which would be like their age and their injury status. This list of top 10 was, how I feel that those players, when they're on the field, fit into the Dolphins' current offensive system, as well as cleaning up some of the stuff that they struggled with. And then in today's video, we are going to start to pare down that list and look at some of those things that weren't factored in previously and try to get down to some top choices for free agent offensive guards. One of the things to keep in mind is that a lot of fans want the Dolphins to, you know, go get big guards and switch to more of an inside zone scheme, and I don't see it that way. For one, that's not the system that McDaniel grew up in. He grew up in the Mike Shanahan, the Kyle Shanahan outside zone stuff, and I don't think that he's going to, go away from that being his primary focus. Um, can they improve on the inside? Yeah, they can and they should, but I don't think it's going to be a big shift in the philosophy. And another reason for that is if you look at two of the best players on the offense from last year, being Aaron Brewer and Devon Achane, if you go to more of an inside zone scheme, then you're really negating the effectiveness of those players. So for those reasons, I think the Dolphins are going to continue to move down the path of, an outside zone focused team that, kind of mirrors what the 49ers have been doing. So, talking about the 49ers, um, one of the things I've been kind of tossed around is that I feel like they have a very different uh, profile of what they're looking at for their left guards versus their right guards. And if you look at, from 2017 when Shanahan got there to 2024, they had two left guards, right? They were both 320 pounds plus. If you think about what the Dolphins had last year in Rob Jones, right? He was in that same bucket, right? And if you look on the right side, there were, more bodies at right guard, but they all look very much the same, all 6'4", 6'5", and, just over 300 pounds. Pooney being the heaviest at 313. If you think about that, those measurements, that matches up a lot with what Liam Eichenberg looks like. So obviously the players they used didn't match up, but you can still see the same type of players, being used in Miami as what they use in San Francisco. So now, with that in mind, as we come back over to this list and we look at those measurements, right? I've kind of bucketed them into whether I feel like they belong as left guards or right guards in this system, right? I think we have four right guards on my list, so six left guards. And again, these are the things we didn't factor in originally, right? But once we come back and we start to factor those things in, one thing I noticed with all of those 49ers guards is that the minimum arm length was 32 and three quarters. And arm length is not a huge factor for interior linemen, but I do think that is a little more of a factor when you're talking about teams that want to run outside zone and what that means for guards being able to reach and to being able to seal off defenders. And this part, kind of hurt to start crossing these names off because obviously Makari is the top guy on my list, but I'm, you know, going based on the mold that I think they're looking at, I'm not sure how critical that will be. And same thing for Will Hernandez, who is a player who is rumored to have interest in the Dolphins and for that interest to be mutual, right? But I would not view him as, an ideal guard in this system, both from the height and the arm length perspective. Next thing is, projected contract. I don't think they're going to invest big money into the guards, despite what some people may think. Um, they didn't spend big on Rob Hunt last year, and we've kind of seen that Trey Smith is not the untouchable prospect that a lot of people may not have felt that he was. So I don't think that Trey Smith is going to be a player that they go after. So projected contracts would take Trey Smith off of that list as well. Next one's player age, and Hernandez would kind of fall into this bucket too. Um, Not as much as Zeitler, but I feel like, if they're looking for a guard in the first wave or two of free agency, it's going to be somebody that they feel can man that position for 3 to 4 years. I don't think that Zeitler really fits that description. Maybe if you get towards the end of free agency and you didn't pick up anybody in the draft and Zeitler's still out there, maybe that's a body that you consider as kind of a band-aid. I just don't think that that's going to be towards the top of their list. And then, as you can see, we've got four guys left on this list. We got Banks and Jenkins that I have bucketed as left guards, and then we've got Fries and Radins as the right guards. So the next thing and the final thing we're going to look at for this is going to be player availability, right? So if we compare Banks and Jenkins, Banks, even though he was injured last year, overall has just been more available than Jenkins. And you don't mind this too much. Obviously, I have Banks ranked higher, right? But it's not like we're, you know, going 1 versus 10 here, right? So I feel like as far as a left guard goes, that Aaron Banks, who has already played in the system, so this makes sense, is going to be the best fit for the Dolphins to pursue to play left guard in this offense. And then for the right guards, while I did have Fries a little bit higher, right? 4 versus 7 for Radins. Again, we know the Dolphins have had issues with health at the tackle positions. Um, can't afford to have that at guard also. The best ability is availability. And because of that, I'm going to give the nod to Radins as my primary target for right guard. Um, you know, Obviously, you know, picking specific players that a team is going to target is, usually not an easy thing to do. But these are the two guards that, if they decide they're going into free agency and they just want to, not spend a ton of money, but, get some age appropriate guys that can man the position for several years and be an upgrade of what we had last year. I think that Banks and Radins as left and right guard respectively would be the two best options for the Miami Dolphins. Again, if you watched this entire series, I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have a different opinion here on the guards that the Dolphins should, have at the top of their list for free agency, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know who it is and let me know why you think that, you have a different opinion there. Um, and as always, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk again soon.